What's going on, Giants fans? We're back here with another video. In this video, we're going to discuss the most recent free agency addition, Giants signing defensive tackle Danny Shelton to a one-year deal, a player coming over from the Detroit Lions who plays a lot of nose tackle. And I believe this deal is worth up to $2 million. So it's a one-year stopgap position that kind of rounds out the starting defensive line if this is in fact his role to replace Dalvin Tomlinson, which right now it seems like that's what he's here to do, replace Dalvin Tomlinson, which quite frankly, he's no Dalvin Tomlinson, but I'll get into the nuts and bolts as to what I think about this signing. But first, a little backlog on Danny Shelton and who he is as a player. He's 6'2", 345 pounds, 27 years old. This guy's a hog up the middle. He's going to dominate the trenches. He's a run stuffer. That's exactly what he is, and that's exactly what the Giants were looking for. Obviously, we know the team re-signed Austin Johnson to a one-year deal, and the team also re-signed Leonard Williams. So with re-signing those two and adding Shelton, the defensive line looks like it's complete heading into 2021. Last year, Shelton played for the Detroit Lions, which was arguably his worst year of his career so far, the 5 years that he's been in the National Football League. He spent the previous two seasons with the New England Patriots, where he won a Super Bowl in 2018, where they beat the Rams. He was a player under Joe Judge, one of the assistant coaches then. And he spent his first 3 years with the Cleveland Browns. So actually, he's played 6 seasons so far, 3 with the Browns, 2 with the Patriots, and 1 with Detroit. But the Browns drafted him 12th overall in the 2015 NFL draft. So what's interesting too, his last season with the Browns was Jabril Peppers' rookie season. So he has 1 year playing with Jabril Peppers. So obviously when he's coming over to interview with Joe Judge, Dave Gettleman, Patrick Graham, Spencer, I mean, these guys know that he has that connection, multiple connections with Judge, with Jabril Peppers, with Kyle O'Brien, who came over from the Detroit Lions front office. So with that being said, Danny Shelton is the third Detroit Lion to come over to the Giants in this offseason, which is insane to just think about because you have that connection with O'Brien. And now to think about it, he played under Matt Patricia as well, who also comes from New England. So he has that connection with Joe Judge as well. So Matt Patricia obviously in charge of the defense there. And obviously Danny Shelton did have a tricep injury last year, and he was released to clear up $4 million in cap space for the Detroit Lions. So he was a cap casualty because the Lions brought him in last offseason. They signed him to a 2-year, $8 million deal. So he is coming off probably the poorest year of his career so far. In 2020, he had just 37 tackles, 1 sack, and 2 tackles for loss. In 2019, he was a little better. 61 tackles, had 3 sacks, 2 tackles for a loss. And his best season came with Joe Judge as his special teams coordinator. So that is a note to keep in mind as well. So Danny Shelton, basically what he is, he's a run stuffer. He's a poor man's version of Dalvin Tomlinson, as where Dalvin Tomlinson goes above and beyond. He has a little, obviously Tomlinson was no pass rusher, but he has that element to his game where he can occasionally get to the quarterback. Danny Shelton is not that player. This means a lot as far as competition at the defensive tackle position for the New York Football Giants, because obviously Shelton has much more experience than Austin Johnson does, but Johnson was with this team and this scheme last year. So you got to imagine that Shelton and Johnson are both going to compete for that starting nose tackle position in that 3-4 scheme. Some of the strengths of Danny Shelton, then I'll get into some of the weaknesses and my final thoughts on Shelton. So he's a run stuffer. He needs to be able to contain running backs, whether it's Miles Sanders, Antonio Gibson, or Ezekiel Elliott. Those are 3 good running backs in this division, and we need to address that nose tackle position, which Danny Shelton will do a fine job filling in, I think, especially for the price at what we got him. A cheap 1-year deal. It is a short-term commitment, low risk, high reward, and he has a huge opportunity to succeed here, as we've seen these players that have come in under Patrick Graham's scheme. If it's a good scheme fit, you're going to succeed. We saw 7th rounders last year out there a lot for the Giants having success. So I brought up that connection to Joe Judge, Jabril Peppers, Kyle O'Brien. Those are some other ones as well. Not to mention, he is the former college roommate of newly signed Giants wide receiver John Ross. They both played together at the University of Washington, and Dante Pettis also played at Washington. So he has those connections too. He started 72 games in his career so far, Danny Shelton. So I'm excited to see what he's able to do for the New York Football Giants in 2021. And what I'll do quickly here, I'll kind of give you guys a little, I pulled this up earlier, get his stats up so that we can kind of take a deeper look into what Danny Shelton has done so far in his NFL career. And here we are. So as you can see, he started majority of the games the first 3 years of his career. 2016 was probably his best season as a Brown. Then he got traded to New England. He's a relatively young player. He's played 6 seasons, but he's only 27. He'll be 28 by the time the season starts. But, I'm going to tell you something. He has a guy who is making up to $2 million on a 1-year deal. It's pretty darn impressive. Obviously, 2018 was not his best year, but 2019 he played really well under Joe Judge. 2020 struggled a little bit with Detroit, had that tricep injury. So it's going to be interesting to see what Danny Shelton can do. This is not a Pro Bowl type player, but this is still an excellent signing. This is probably one of the Giants' better signings. I thought the Giants were going to wait until the draft to address this. But again, this is an excellent job by Dave Gettleman, going out, filling in a position of need, not spending much cap on this guy for this season. And this doesn't hurt you long-term either. And again, this makes other teams more curious as to what the Giants will do at number 11 overall and now rounds later on. Because even I was starting to think, well, maybe you look at a guy like Christian Barmore in the 2nd round or Ali McNeil in the 3rd out of NC State. Now, the Giants may not draft a defensive tackle. I still think they should, because you have Austin Johnson and Danny Shelton both on 1-year deals. They're not signed past this upcoming season, and neither is B.J. Hill, who's entering the final year of his rookie contract. So I'd imagine that at least 2 of those guys probably are not coming back in 2022. So I think it's important that the Giants still draft an interior defensive line. The weaknesses for Danny Shelton: played in only 12 games last year, as I mentioned. He only played 40% of the defensive snaps. This is not a guy who's an every down player. He has only played more than 50% of the defensive snaps once in his career. That was 2016. And, this is a guy who's probably going to give the Giants about 50, 60% of snaps. You want him in there on 1st down, 2nd down, when teams are running the football a little more often. So I think that's where he's best used. But overall, I'm going to give Danny Shelton a good thumbs up signing for the Giants. I think I'm going to give him a chance to come in, and I think he's going to do a good job in training camp competing with Austin Johnson if they bring in a rookie. And again, that rookie wouldn't have to start right away. I know Dalvin Tomlinson did start right away, but worst case scenario, you barely spent any money on this guy. You could cut him if he doesn't pan out in training camp and preseason. But it's going to be really interesting to see what the Giants do. We keep thinking we're done in free agency, folks, but more just keeps coming. So Danny Shelton is a New York Football Giant, huge, and I mean huge, like heaviest player on the football team. He's going to be a Giant in 2021, and I'm really excited. I'd be scared if I'm opposing running backs in the NFCs, because the Giants' defense is now near complete. We just need a pass rusher, and we will be golden heading into 2021. But until then, guys, if you like what you're watching, make sure to drop a comment, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate all the love and support here at Big Blue Avenue. I will talk to you guys later on our next video. Thank you all very much for watching.